If the same crow keeps appearing near you day after day, it may not be a coincidence. You see it on the fence when you step outside. You notice it on the power line when you walk to your car. Sometimes it shows up near the same tree, at the same time, watching quietly while every other bird keeps its distance. Most people brush this off. They tell themselves, it's just a crow, it's probably looking for food. But crows do not follow every person. They ignore some people completely. They avoid others from a distance. And then, every so often, they choose one person to watch more closely. Not because that person is special in the way humans like to imagine, but because that person has become useful, predictable, dangerous, familiar, or interesting enough to remember. And once a crow starts remembering you, the relationship may already be deeper than you realize. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mind. Today, we are going into one of the strangest things crows do around humans. Why they seem to follow certain people, wait for certain people, call at certain people, and completely ignore everyone else walking through the same street. This is not just about food. If it were only about food, every person with a snack would get the same attention. But that is not what happens. Crows pay attention to patterns. They notice who comes outside at the same time each morning. They notice who walks calmly and who waves their arms. They notice who tosses peanuts, who throws rocks, who looks up when they call, and who never reacts at all. To a crow, you are not just a moving shape in the yard. You are a pattern, a routine, a possible threat, a possible opportunity, and maybe, over time, something closer to a familiar face in its territory. But here is where it becomes unsettling. The crow that follows you may not be deciding what you are today. It may be remembering what you did weeks ago, months ago, or even what another crow learned about you before you ever noticed it was there. And the first reason crows follow certain people begins with something most humans never think about. Crows do not just recognize faces, they recognize consequences. A crow may not follow you because it likes you. At least, not at first. It follows because something about you has produced a result before. Maybe you once dropped a few crumbs near the driveway without thinking. Maybe you filled a bird bath every morning during a dry week. Maybe you stood still instead of chasing it away. Or maybe you did the opposite. You clapped loudly. You threw something. You walked too close to a young crow on the ground. To you, that moment may have lasted 3 seconds. To the crow, it became information. Crows are experts at connecting a person with what happens next. A calm person may mean food appears. A loud person may mean danger. A person in a certain coat may mean the dog comes outside. A person who walks toward the shed may mean the yard is about to become noisy. This is why one crow might follow you down the sidewalk while ignoring your neighbor completely. Your neighbor is just movement. You are a memory with legs. And when that memory becomes consistent, the crow begins to test it. It may land a little closer than usual. It may stay on the fence instead of flying away. It may call once, then watch your reaction. It may follow from tree to tree, not because it is begging, but because it is checking whether the pattern still holds. This is the part most people misunderstand. When a crow follows you, it is not always asking for something. Sometimes, it is asking a question. Are you still safe? Are you still predictable? Are you still the person who brings food, ignores danger, scares predators away, or creates problems? And if that sounds too human, think about it this way. A wild bird survives by predicting the next few seconds better than everything trying to catch it. For a crow living near people, humans are one of the biggest moving forces in its world. Cars, doors, dogs, garbage bins, lawn tools, feeders, windows, and food scraps often begin with a human action. So the crow watches the human. Not every human, the ones that matter. But what makes this even more powerful is that the crow may not be learning alone. Because when one crow starts following you, others may already be watching what happens from a distance. Crows rarely make important decisions in complete silence. When one crow notices something useful, dangerous, or unusual, that information often does not stay with that one bird. It moves. A sharp call from a rooftop, a low sound from a tree, a sudden gathering on a power line. A few black shapes turning their heads toward the same person at the same time. To most people, it just sounds like noise. But in a crow's world, sound is not background. It is a warning system, a social signal, and sometimes a public announcement. This is why being followed by one crow can slowly become something bigger. At first, it may be just one bird tracking your routine. Then another crow starts appearing nearby. Then a third one does not fly away as quickly when you pass. Then, one morning, you step outside and realize several crows are already looking in your direction. Not panicking, not attacking, just watching. That moment can feel strange because humans are used to being the observers. We watch birds through windows, cameras, binoculars, and feeders. But crows reverse that feeling. They make you realize the yard has never been a one-way stage. You were watching them. They were watching you back, and they were comparing notes. If one crow has learned that you are safe, others may become less afraid around you. If one crow has learned that you are unpredictable, others may keep their distance before you ever do anything to them. This does not mean crows gossip the way humans do. It means they pay attention to each other's reactions because, in the wild, another bird's alarm can save your life. And this is where following becomes more than curiosity. A crow may follow you because it has placed you into a category. Safe, risky, useful, unclear, worth watching. The last category may be the most interesting one, because when a crow is not sure about you, it does not always leave. Sometimes it studies you harder. It watches what you do with your hands. It watches whether you look directly at it. It watches whether your dog appears when the door opens. It watches whether food appears after you go inside. And slowly, your ordinary routine becomes part of its map. But the final question is the one most people never ask. What makes a crow stop just watching you and start trusting you? Trust, for a crow, does not begin with closeness. It begins with predictability. A crow may follow you for weeks before it ever lands near you. It may watch from the roof, the fence, the tallest branch, or the edge of the driveway. It may seem bold one day and distant the next. That does not always mean you did something wrong. It may simply be testing the pattern. Do you move the same way? Do you shout when it calls? Do you rush toward it when it comes close? Do you offer food and then suddenly change your behavior? Do you let it choose the distance? For a crow, trust is not built by chasing connection. It is built by giving control. If you want crows to feel safer around you, the steps are simple, but they require patience. Leave food in the same place at the same time. Unsalted peanuts in the shell are often accepted, but never force the moment. Step back, stay calm. Let the crow see you, but do not demand a reaction from it. The first change may be so small you almost miss it. The crow does not fly away as quickly. Then it waits a little longer. Then it calls from the same tree before you appear. Then one day, you step outside, and it is already there, not by accident, not randomly passing through, but because your routine has become part of its morning. That is when following becomes something different. Not friendship in the human sense. Not ownership. Not a pet-like bond. Something wilder than that. A careful agreement between two minds sharing the same territory. You become the person who does not threaten. The person who appears when expected. The person who makes the yard feel less dangerous instead of more dangerous. And maybe that is why crows ignore everyone else. Not because those people are invisible, but because they have not become meaningful yet. So the next time a crow follows you from a fence post to a power line, do not assume it is just looking for scraps. It may be reading your routine. It may be testing your history. It may be deciding whether you are worth remembering. Have you ever noticed the same crow following you, waiting for you, or acting differently around you than around other people? Tell me in the comments. I read every story, and with crows, the smallest detail is often the most revealing.